So we were just enjoying the situation. We were just remembering our master, because at the time of leaving the body we have to remember either Guru or the Lord. Why should we worry about all these things? Because we know we have incarnated many millions of times and we are going to incarnate many millions of times. So why should we worry?
The other experience hanging in Switzerland.
Once in Switzerland, we were hanging on the teleferic and 3,000 meters high in the sky. Big storm there also.
Big storm, thunderstorm, flashes.
Big thunderstorm around us, strong winds, and our teleferic is like this for 2 hours.
And then was
At 6 o'clock in the evening we were there and we were meditating normally as usual. Because we cannot have this opportunity to meditate on that level. You see, if we want to meditate on that level on the sky, how can you have an opportunity? So now there is an opportunity. So we said, let us meditate normally. We meditate. If we are there, okay. If we are not there, okay. No. So we are meditating. And the other fellows, some British fellows are there. Yes, see, the British lady collapsed, and luckily we have some emergency medicine. We have given the medicine. We have made the treatment also at that moment. His children were there. His wife were there. Yes. We were very calm. For 2 hours. It was quite sure that we are going to crash. We were ready. For anything, ready for anything.
So you learn to live.
So unless you get free from worry, you cannot do that. So no worry. Just be like that. It's a training. It is a training. We have to undergo this training. We have to practice this. And despair and constant introspection. This is another thing. Introspection is not required. You have to observe yourself.
Even in this situation, it's a good example.
Yes. And then morbid emotional suppression. This is another thing. If there is emotional disturbance, so if you try to suppress your emotion, that is much more dangerous. You have to let it free and go away, but not keep suppressed and locked in your mind, suppressing the emotion. If I am angry upon him, express it in some way or other, and otherwise through meditation or something, get rid of it. But if I keep anger inside but outside, I am very angry upon him and say, oh, you would have fallen. So it is not, for him it is nothing. For me, any time my heart or brain may crash. If you suppress the emotion, there will be crash of the brain or heart or something. So never you should have emotional suppression. You have to make it evaporate it, not suppress. We should not suppress, we should not fight. If you want to fight with your emotion, it will be more stronger. Because again it is an emotional approach. When there is anger in us, some of the so-called practitioners, what they do, they get angry upon the anger which is there inside. Oh, there is a lot of anger in me, I have to get rid of it. But you are again doing the same thing, increasing this. Intensity is increased more. You should not be angry about yourself for the anger.
This is what we have in the third lesson.
Yes.
Was your father gay? That's exactly the same.
Yes. Angry, hatred, jealousy, these are all there. But you should not try to fight with them. you draw your attention towards a better thing and this will disappear. That is the only thing. If you give importance and trying to fight with this, it will increase. It will become more stronger. So emotional effort or emotional approach is not useful to get over these things. Hatred. If you keep hating others, then there is no problem for the others. It's for you.
This is what your father said. You have never to hate a human being, but you can hate the expression.
Yes, only the expression. Yeah.
How do you express it?
Yes.
But this is a moment for help.
It will help the other person.
If you hate him,
if you hate the person, then there will be emotional fight between you and the other person. You hate the wrong expression and you explain this, then you will help the other person also to get out of this. Then that is the only way, positive way. So you must have always a positive approach.
There is such expression that if you hate somebody or offend, it is like to take poison, so the other one would get.
Yes, it is true.
You take poison, so because you want that he will die.
And conflict is another thing. And temper, conflict always. This conflict is external conflict or internal conflict. Both are same. If you have conflict outside with other persons, or if you have conflict with your inner self, either way, it is going to damage the system. And this damage that is caused, it is through many years, a long period. And that is why normal medical science cannot correlate the sickness to these things. That is the problem. That is only the homeopathic science which could explain this. And prolonged irritation, that is another thing. Some persons, you see, the irritable nature, that irritable nature prolongs and prolongs for long. Prolonged irritation, very dangerous. It is like a fire. It is just like having fire in your pocket. You know, there are some burning pieces of fire. If you put in your pocket, so prolonged irritation is like that. It is going to burn away from inside. If you are angry upon somebody, you tell that I am angry with you. It's finished. But if you keep this inside, it's like a fire. Frustrated sex life, that is another thing, very big problem. Frustrated sex life. It is also expressed in several different angles. So this is because if you have no proper understanding and training how to use this sex energy, then you will get into frustration afterwards. You will get into misuse of this. The misuse of sexuality will lead you to frustration of the sex life. And that leads to so many disturbances. And then self-pity is a very big enemy. The biggest enemy is self-pity. You must show your compassion, your pity unto other suffering person, not self-pity. If you are held in self-pity, then what happens is you can never be in any spiritual advancement. And you can never be happy. Self-pity. Oh, I am doing so much of work. That is an impression. We are not tired because of doing work. You are tired because of self-pity. If I feel that I am working so much, then immediately you are finished. Self-pity. You should work, but you should also balance. You need to balance your physical capacities, your mental capacities, all these things. That is true. But not entertaining any idea of self-pity. This is also emotion. If your emotion is focused on the other person, if your emotion is focused to yourself, in any way it is a disturbance. So self-pity is to be completely eliminated. Of course, not by fighting with yourself. Self-pity, it is always, we must be conscious of when you think of yourself, how you are analyzing yourself, how you are directing yourself. If you follow the discipline, if you follow the regulation, if you follow the teachings of the scriptures and masters, then you can overcome self-pity. That is what the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita also. Karmanyeva adhikaraste. When you work, when you perform your duty without attachment to the result of the work, then you are synthesized. Then there is no self-pity. You keep doing your work. Because whenever any idea comes in our mind about how much work we are doing, then we must think that there are so many other people who can work more than us. So therefore we need not have any self-pity. That is what we have to do. And inner tension is another cause, another one. Inner tension. Always tension. Many people now in the modern society live with tension in the mind. Always in a hurry, tension. When you study homeopathy, you have many remedies where you find this hurry and tension and all this. When you have tension, then you always make a wrong type of action. Suppose a person has to attend to a very important meeting, for example. So he is tense. Suppose a person has to face an interview, for example, he feels very tense. Suppose a student is going to attend to examination, he becomes very tense and nervous. Then what happens if you are more tense? Even though you know the subject, you have studied very well, but you cannot make proper answering in the examination because of this tension.
It's very hard to relax.
So you must train yourself to be relaxed and avoid the tension. By practice.
Only practice.
And you know, there is a subtle thing in the, especially why the students, most of the students are so tense is, they feel tense that about how I can remember all the subject and present in the examination. And it's a simple psychological solution. Suppose you are a student, you are studying the subject which is to be presented in the examination. So from the day one, from the first day itself, you are studying the subject with an intention to remember and not to forget. The same person, if you read a story, some stories, some interest, some book, you will only read normally and you will never forget that. You remember that very well. If you could remember the other thing very well, why you will forget this? Because here, in your effort, you have an obstacle. What is the obstacle? I have to remember this, I should not forget this. This becomes an obstacle.
Maybe this is interesting.
No,
And that the book is interesting.
it is only the interest also depends upon this. If you always constantly keep reading this, I should not forget, I have to read again and again, then you will lose the interest. But the other book, you will not lose the interest because you have no problems. You are reading just normally. So therefore you will not forget this. So you have to read your subject also in a very such a wonderful, in a very such casual manner, then you will not forget. If you have these ideas always constantly, then you are block yourself. That is why students are always blocked.
I can tell you a story because I did. I was trying about education all now. So someday
It's free to transform. Transform this into the higher. That is the key. That is what you learn from the yoga of Patanjali also. Transformation into the higher. From the lower, transformed into the higher. This is what we have to see, we have to do. So here, now we have the lunch break.
get some food.
Yes. We are benefited. If our behavior is not proper, we are the losers. In no way others are affected. Others are affected, but not as much as you are affected. This we have to remember. So why should I be good to others? Yes, because if you want to be happy, that it is the only way. That is the only thing. So, a period of unrest, broken-heartedness, frustration, futility. Why you get frustrated? We get many times we feel frustrated. I am doing so much for expectation. All the years I have been teaching very good things, but frustration. No more I want to teach. Oh, don't teach.
Nobody follows.
Nobody.
Everybody still on their phone.
There nothing happens. If you stop teaching, nothing happens. This I have to remember. Why I am teaching all the years? For my betterment. That is the truth. If I remember that all the years I have been teaching all these things to many people, that means for my improvement, for my betterment. Through teaching I am learning. That is the secret for my betterment. If there is a little betterment in me, that is because of this. Yes. If I feel frustrated, all these people are not following what I say. If you stop, you say, I stop teaching, stop it. Then you stop your betterment, not for them. This is the truth. If I feel frustrated, I have been teaching so many people, but nobody is following. It is expectation. It is foolish. So I should remember that my teaching is a sort of sharing and a sort of offering to the Lord. That is what I should feel. It's a form of offering to the indweller. Because the same I am, the indweller is there in all the people. So what can I do for the I am, for the indweller, for the Lord who is there? It is an offering. So I offer this. So if I don't want to offer, stop it. Nothing will happen. So when we remember this, then we have no all these things. No frustration anymore in life. There is no need of frustration with everybody. If we remember this, then there will be no disharmony between husband and wife, parents and children. Everything will be very good. Yes. So if we get in disharmony, that is because of, if we get frustration, all these things, it is from our inner self. Something is to be rectified in ourselves, not from in others. If I want to rectify the defects of others, that means it is gone. If I see the defects in others, if I want to rectify others, first you rectify yourself. That is what also is explained by the Lord Krishna himself to Arjuna. He said, Uddhared Atma Atmanam. Everyone has to rectify himself. It is not possible for anybody to rectify other person. That is what the Lord said, not we. It is the word of the Lord himself. He said, you cannot rectify others. Rectify yourself. Everybody should rectify himself or herself and make a betterment by following. But never think that you have to rectify others. Even the masters will never think like that. If the masters think like that, they are not masters. No master will think, no real masters think. They know that, this secret. Therefore, what they do, they keep applying these things. They keep working, and they put themselves as example. That's all. They never expect that all the disciples should follow. They are the only false masters who always have expectations about the disciples. There are no expectation masters. Real masters have no expectation. They will do what they have to do for the well-being, for the welfare of the society, for the common good. They keep on working. That's all. Why they are working? With joy, for nothing, without expectation, without anticipation. This is the only key. Nothing, no truth behind this. Then you are always in good condition. The cure for this loss of mental grip and control is to be found in the simple word acceptance. See, again coming to that. Accept. The cure for this loss of mental grip and control is to be found in the simple word acceptance. Suppose we want to make a travel to Srisalem. So we started. So we made everything very good, and good condition of the car and good and everything. We started. And we calculate, we started now, we will reach at that time. But meanwhile, suddenly there is a repair on the road and the traffic is blocked. What can you do? Accept and be peaceful. That is what Master says. Master has given wonderful examples. We many times we travel with our children. Now we see the children. We travel with the children. And then the adults, the elders, what they do, how much time it is now, how much time it takes. Children are not bothered. They keep playing always. If there is delay in their flight, they announce that your flight is delayed for 6 hours. Oh, 6 hours we have to wait here. But the children don't feel all these things. They keep on playing always. They don't care for this. They have no problem. It may be 6 hours delay or 1 day delay, 24 hours delay, whatever it may be. They feel, when they are hungry, they come to you and say, I am hungry, eat the food. They go and play. When they are tired, then they sleep. Nothing beyond that. But we, the elders, we cannot sleep because is so much delayed. We cannot sleep. We cannot eat because of this. So we make all these things. But because we have no acceptance, that is why we have failed. For them, they accept anything. They have no problem. Acceptance, that is what we have to learn. Acceptance of, that is the most important thing. Acceptance. Acceptance of a situation like that. Acceptance of condition which seems at present unavoidable. What is the acceptance? Acceptance of a condition which seems at the time, which is unavoidable. It is not in our hands. Suppose for the last 2 hours there is no electricity. Okay, accept it. We do your work. If I am angry on the electric fellows, or these fellows are doing always like this, then it is stupid. You lose your balance of all these things. A constant state of inner rebellion against one's lack of accomplishment and unrealized plans is also a frequent cause of ill health. This is another thing, very important. A constant state of inner rebellion. Rebellion. rebellion, inner conflict. Against one's lack of accomplishment. And then unrealized plans. We make so many plans. All the plans cannot be realized. Yeah. It is frequent cause of ill health. The determination to carry out planned work can result in overwork and nervous breakdown. It is also another thing. We plan some work and we want to achieve, and for that we make overwork for this, then also we have a breakdown. We should have a balance. That is also explained in Mandala scripture once again. Yukta ahara viharasya. Ahara means food, diet, and vihara means your other duties. In all these things you should have balance. One who does not care for the balance is prone to get into sickness. One of the lessons which everyone has to learn is that of their physical limitations is another thing. Very important. Once again I will repeat. One of the lessons which everyone has to learn is that of their physical limitations. For example, if I think that I look into the newspaper and say somebody has reached Everest, peak of Everest, then I should also reach the peak of Everest because that fellow was recognized all over the world, I should be recognized. Foolish. My body cannot permit this. So you must know your limitation. You should not be ready for everything. We should because in the newspaper, in the television we see somebody has reached the peak, a little fellow even recently, very little young boy, and he reached the top of the Everest and he was recognized by all the agencies and all, and publicity. I also now short to get over. Then you will die in the middle because your body will not permit. I am telling about me, not you. So if I think foolishly that I should also do this, then I will destroy myself. So limitation, physical limitation, you have to know. Ambition. That which is possible is carried forward, and the impossible is not to be attempted. This we have to make a discrimination. What is possible, we have to go on further. We must know whether it is possible or not for us. If it is possible physically, let us do it. If it is not possible, something is not possible, leave it. Don't attempt it at all. If I think that if I do not attempt, all these people, they are expecting high of me, and now what will happen? All the people expect that Ananta Krishna has a good capacity, so he should. So to keep this expectation of others, I want to do something which I cannot do. Suppose if you expect me, Ananta Krishna can do everything, so he can also drive a helicopter. Then if I want to drive a helicopter because to be recognized by you, then it is absolute failure. I cannot do that. Strain accomplishes nothing. It decreases the quantity and quality of our labor. Let things wait. So don't think that you can do everything and all the time. We have to remember our limitation and plan according to that. So that is why this is called law of right relationship with your inner self. So we continue tomorrow.
Bon appétit.
Vasudeva. So what are the laws of health? So that we are studying. So yesterday we were studying about the word simple acceptance of a condition. Acceptance of a condition which seems at present unavoidable. That is one, the attitude of acceptance that we have studied. And also we have studied about the physical limitations. And how to handle the condition of the illness, that is also given. How we have to handle when you have a sick condition, when you are sick, when you have a sickness, when you have fallen ill. How to handle this, that is the next thing. Where there is sickness, then you can write, I will explain. So where there is sickness, what is told here is, what we have to keep is, first is peace. We must try to keep peaceful in our mind. Unrest, if there is unrest, that will increase the sickness. Because already sickness is the result of a disturbance at the mental level. So if you keep peaceful first of all, then you can handle the situation. Otherwise, it will become much more worse. So peace, and also keep quietness and silence are necessary for healing. These three things: peace, quietness, and silence. You have to keep peace, you have to keep quiet, and keep silent. Because the most important thing which can heal us is the peace. That can bring order once again. It is just like among the nations also, among the countries. If there is war, then it is all sickness. So we have to again establish peace. That is the only way. Until you establish peace, you are always suffering. When there is a war, there is suffering of the whole humanity, not one person. So in the same manner, our inside us also, sickness is like a situation of like a war, similar to a situation, similar to war. So we have to make an effort to establish peace. Same thing also about healing when we have sickness. So peace and quietness, that is also important. That is why when some person is sick, very much sick, even physically also, generally they keep the person in such places like which is called a sanatorium. Of course, the present sanatoriums are commercial, that is of no use, but real sanatoriums where the patient can live quiet And then silent. Silence is not just only physical silence, but mental silence. Unrest is on mental level. So mental silence is to be practiced. Otherwise, if you continue to be anxious, you cannot be healed. So mental silence is to be practiced, and for that what you have to do is, you have to, for some period, you keep away from all these transactions, because if you are able to keep peaceful in all the transactions, you will not fall sick. That is quite. When you are continuing your daily life with all the transactions, but yet you can keep yourself peaceful and balanced with your relations and other things, then automatically there is no need specially for you to go anywhere else. But since we are not able to handle these things, since we have fallen sick, then it is required that for a period of time you keep away from the normal routine, so that it will be possible for you to maintain mental silence first and then physical silence. You can speak. If you can keep mental silence, then necessarily if you have to speak, that is also silence only. That is not breaking the silence. So in our evening invocation there is a sentence, may we speak the silence without breaking it. What is this speaking silence? In the beginning it appears contradictory. When you speak, how can you be silent? So you can be silent even when you are speaking. That means your mind, if it is balanced, then even if you are speaking to other person, still you can keep silent. So may we speak the silence without breaking it. That is one sentence what we utter every evening in our invocation. A constant state of inner rebellion, where there is sickness, peace, quiet and silence are necessary. This refers not only to physical conditions but to the emotional and mental states of the patient, as well as those who are present with the patient. Not only patient, but those who are around the patient also. Suppose there is a patient suffering, and the people around the patient are in great unrest mentally, then the patient cannot be healed. Because if he is in the presence of such people who are mentally at unrest, there is no use. So this refers not only to physical condition but to the emotional and mental states of the patient, as well as those who are present near the patient. This is not always easy to attain. It is not always easy to attain. Illness that affects the physical body does the least harm. See, this is what we have to very clearly understand. The illness that affects the physical body is less harmful than the illness which affects the emotion and the mind of the person. That brings more damage. Yeah, the healing process is hindered if it is on the emotional and mental level. Where it works out in an emotional or mental condition, it is apt to become a problem to others, and adding to their strain and necessitating an effort upon their part to carry the sufferer through. Let it not be forgotten that the physical, emotional and mental nature constitute one mechanism. It is always the fundamental understanding which we should have. That is what is explained in these sciences like Ayurveda, homeopathy, naturopathy, in these sciences. What is the triangle? There is a triangle. Physical, mental, and emotional. It is a trio. So all these three belong to one mechanism. And when a person is sick, it is difficult to preserve his equanimity and balance, because it is the real disease is the fear about the disease. That is the real disease. This is difficult to be understood in normal medical approach. The body, there is pain and suffering, but this is only a manifestation of a disturbance on the emotional and mental level. This is to be understood. Illness is sustained and increased by constant dwelling upon it. This is most important. Dwelling. Constantly, if you dwell in your mind on the sickness, about the sickness, constant dwelling. Constant dwelling means mentally and emotionally. Constant dwelling on sickness. That means thinking constantly. About sickness. This will enable the sickness to increase more. When you start thinking that you have some sickness, so constantly if you keep on thinking that you have some sickness, I have some sickness, maybe I have a heart problem, maybe I'm getting cancer, like this. Constantly if your mind is engaged with this thought, then you will lead into that condition. That is the secret. Because you are mentally making such a proposal. Yes. Yes. When you do not dwell, when you can practice, because this is to be practiced before, not when once you got into sickness and then you start practicing this, that is not possible. So that is why these are the things which are to be practiced when you are healthy. When you are normal life, if you could practice, then it will be possible for you not to dwell in the sickness. The sickness will be there for the body may get some sort of problem, but then also if you dwell upon it, then it increases the problem and never you can get a solution. That is difficult to heal such a person. Our Ramakotaya, the old healer, he always used to tell that don't meditate upon your disease, my dear fellow. You meditate upon master or you meditate upon higher force. If you keep on meditating upon the disease, then nobody can heal you. That is what he used to tell. Yeah. So you have to direct the mind, divert the mind and direct the mind towards a higher thing. I'll give you an example. My grandfather, Dr. Ananta, father of Master E.K., he was also a great healer and an Ayurvedic doctor and healer. He used to apply such methods. There was once a patient suffering from ulcer in the lung. There was ulcer inside the lung, pulmonary ulcer. And doctors examined this case. They applied antibiotics but could not solve. In spite of giving antibiotics, this ulcer was increasing and the patient was suffering. And those allopathic doctors, they knew my grandfather. When they have some very difficult case, when they found it was impossible, then they used to refer such cases to him because they know he has special method. So therefore, they told the patient, you please meet Anantacharya because we cannot solve your problem because it is increasing. So then what my grandfather did was, they were expecting that he will give some medicine immediately. His treatment was very special and peculiar. He never applied any medicine immediately. So he said, okay, I will treat you, but you follow my instruction. I know when to give a medicine, don't be in a hurry. Already many medicines were given to you by those doctors. If I also put some medicines to you, it makes no sense. So he selected some very special classical music and he made the patient lie down and he made the patient to lie in a position legs up and head to a little bit down, and he started to play the discs of this special selected music, and he was sitting by the side of the patient and giving his healing energy, invoking, and made the patient to listen to the music. Because till that time, all the time the patient was dwelling about his disease and all the suffering. And these doctors are giving only medicine, they could not do anything for this, and also family members, friends and all this, visiting them and increasing his problem. Because mentally he is getting more sick. And the doctors told him that you cannot be cured, you will die like this. That is what the allopathic doctors do generally. They directly tell to the patient that you have such disease and you will die. Like shooting. Because already you give such a suggestion to the mind of the patient, how can he be healed? So then, therefore, he told the patient, you don't worry, you will recover. You listen to this music. And then slowly he started this music playing. It's very like a flute and some very fine classical music, vocal music and this. And then till that time he was having pain and he could not sleep. And once he started this, he got relaxed and started to relax, not feeling pain. And after 24 hours, then this ulcer inside, which is there since, and then it started to ooze, and this oozing came out through the mouth, and he collected all this to go out. It took 2 or 3 days more, and gradually the patient started to get betterment. the pain and the suffering is reduced. Not given any medicine. He was just meditating and just put him on the music. And after 3-4 days, then the patient felt very, very well, because the ulcer it has gone out with all the oozing. Because the mind of the patient is so much relaxed. And then he prepared some Ayurvedic tonic and gave it to him for quick recovery. And after 1 week, the patient was normal. And he told these doctors, now you make examination, investigation. They made investigation, there is no ulcer. Finished. His method of healing was very special. Special means it is original, natural. And his diagnosis was also very special. He never depended upon the laboratory investigation, all this, never. He used to speak with the patient, look at the patient, and he could feel, in himself he could feel where the suffering is in the patient, and he knew. So these doctors, the big doctors of this area, they know that this is a special man. So wherever there is a case which was impossible for them, they used to refer to him. In those days, it was between 1930 and 50s, in this 20 to 25 years period, when my father was young boy. You know, my father, when he was a little child, of few months child, he got the attack of pneumonia in both the lungs, very severe, very acute, and they could not breathe because both the lungs are full with this liquid. And the other family members and the friends and all, they said, what he will do with your son now? Take him to the hospital. I said, no, I will not take my son to the hospital. They cannot solve this problem, he said. But what will you do? I know how to heal him, he said. He was very courageous also. He was a very courageous person. He was never, mentally he was so balanced. So he called for a person who can catch snakes. So he said, bring a cobra, a snake. So the person brought a cobra. He has given a glass plate to this fellow and said, you make the cobra drop the poison on this, and so a few drops of this poison, he took it from the cobra, and with a very minute, some stick, he just took this, opened the mouth of the child, and he knew how to place this very precisely, and how to, and with this he put just that much enough juice on the tongue, and everybody said, you for foolish fellow, you are killing your boy. He said, I know. This was in the night, and by morning all the liquids in the lung was thrown out and the child survived. That is our master Ike. So he could do this because he never said, oh, my son is suffering. It's not my son, it is a person suffering, we have to heal him. Whether it be his son or other's child, so for him it is the same. So that is his level of consciousness. So that is why he could heal. If he is emotional about the sickness of his son, he will fail. Same thing we found with Master Ike also. He never felt emotional or afraid when his children are also sick. Master Ike started this homeopathic healing, started for his son first, my brother, and then extended this for the whole of humanity. So therefore, it is very important. Constant dwelling on sickness increases the sickness. That is the secret. So we have to make the patient in a very peaceful atmosphere and forget about the disease and divert the mind, and then you can do this work. So for yourself also, if you want to be healed, you should train yourselves not to dwell mentally about the sickness. If you have fear about the sickness, you cannot be healed. First of all, we have to eliminate the fear. So that is also possible with homeopathy. That is what in many cases we see. In some cases there is intense fear. That is one of the symptoms in some of the remedies. We can identify this. So irrespective of the disease, we take these symptoms into consideration and select a remedy which can act on these mental symptoms, this fear and anguish and all these things, and then the person is cured, whatever may be the disease. That is the approach of homeopathy. In homeopathy, we are not concerned about the name of the disease. We are not concerned about what the diagnosis given by the allopathic, basing on the laboratory tests and all these things. We are not concerned. We are concerned about how the patient feels. What is the mental condition of the patient? What is the emotional condition of the patient? That is how we make an approach in homeopathy. Otherwise, you cannot do it. You have to eliminate this anguish, this fear. It is very surprising if you know this, how immediately it works if you make such an approach. There is a wrong conception in the minds of people that homeopathy will work very slowly, therefore in acute conditions we cannot use homeopathy. That is wrong. A constant consideration of any of the bodily functions leads to difficulty. Because if you see, oh, my heart, suppose you get some palpitation, immediately you start thinking, what is happening to my heart? The more you start thinking, the more the palpitation will increase. So this is not always easy to attain. Illness that affects the physical body does the least harm. Where it works out the emotional or mental condition, it is then apt to become a problem to others. So this is always to be remembered. And then chronic invalids are frequently so because of their preoccupation with the body over a long period of time. Some persons who are sick and invalid on chronic conditions, that means for a long time, why they are so, that is also explained here. It is because over a long period of time they have a preoccupation about their body and suffering. That is the problem. For long years. There are some persons really, because we have so many cases which we have seen how our master used to heal. And there was a person who was working in a big industry, and this person, he started to develop such a mental condition. He started to feel that he has something in the brain, like a clot or a tumor like that. So he went to the doctors. They made all the radiography and the ultrasound. Nothing is there. Absolutely nothing is there. Then the doctor said, you have to go to psychiatrist, because you don't that is another disaster. All the psychiatric medicine is a big disaster. It is only to calm you up with the sedation. That is of no use. So this man came to master, and he told him that All the investigations, they say that I have nothing, but I know that I am having some big blockage in my brain. I am going to die. Because here is like that, here is